Yo, today we're going to be going over our Insect Glaive Progression Guide and Endgame builds. I'm going to be going over everything you need to know about the Insect Glaive and how I personally like to play it. I have a couple different sets for you guys and some weapons that you can be using, so we're going to be going over all of that here within this video. Let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and start jumping into everything you need to know about the Insect Glaive. So first off, with Insect Glaive, I basically live in focus mode. I basically do anyways for most melee weapons. But the whole point of this weapon is, if you see in the top left, we have the 1, 2, 3. Those are our buffs. So if we end up like sending out a Kinsect, so if you aim, basically, you can see what part you're looking at. You can see green or 1, 2, and 3, depending on what part of the monster you're looking at. Every monster is going to be slightly different, so you do need to learn it for each monster. But the green will heal you, and then the other ones will give you various buffs. But our goal with how I like to play Insect Glaive is getting all 3 buffs and using it for a huge attack. So you can actually send out your Kinsect when you're aiming like this, and it'll grab the buff, and you can pull it back to you, and you're going to gain the buff. So if you do that for all of the different parts, you can also do it just by hitting the enemies and getting the different parts. It'll come back to you. You'll see it fill. And then once you have all 3 is basically where we're going to be doing our big damage move. So for me, I'm on PC, so I need to hold my right click button. On consoles, it can be a little bit different, but you'll see the button up there. We're going to be doing strong descending slash. So I want to hold this button, and it's going to be charging up. Once it's charged up and I release it, I'm going to start doing this big flip maneuver. And then at the end, I can click again, and I'm going to be doing the rising spiral slash. That is the main move that we're going to be focusing on with how I like to play Insect Glaive. It's very strong. You can do it fairly quickly with those just 2 moves. And there's a different variations you can do. You can add in more attacks while you're charging it up and things like that. Basically, that move does a ton of damage, and we can scale it up pretty high with a couple of our decorations. So it ends up working really well. And as you can see, you do even get some of your power-ups back even when you're doing that move. So you don't quite need to do like every single 3 parts every time. Also, the focus strike with this weapon is going to give you all of them. So if we get our wound right here, focus strike it, you're going to fling back and eventually get your Kinsect shot out, and that will give you all 3 buffs when it comes back. So that's a great way of getting all of your buffs. So if you do your rising spiral slash and you see a weak point, you can instantly hit it with your focus strike and then go charge up and do another one. It's going to give you a ton of damage. And something else you can do is actually charge your strong descending slash while you're attacking. So I can be doing strong rising slash combos here. And as I'm doing these, I'm holding right click here. As I'm doing these attacks, after my attacks, I can let go, and it's going to go straight right into the strong descending slash and into the rising spiral slash. You can also dodge attack out of the rising spiral slash, so you can get on their back. You can attack a weak point that's maybe in a weird spot, or just get out of the way. So there's a lot you can do out of the spiral slash as well. Now let's take some looks at some weapons that you can be using through low rank and then into high rank. So some of the first options that you can get in terms of upgrades are going to be the Balahara tree. If you want an element, a damaging element, you can get water on there. And then if you want a status, you can do Lala Barina for paralysis. It's going to give you more damage windows. So it's kind of up to you. If you want more just like straight up damage, do the Balahara. If you want more damage windows, do Lala Barina. Another good option after a few monsters would be the Artian tree for some blast if you want some blast. But otherwise, I would try to focus on some elements just because of the sets that we're going to be using, which we're going to get to after we look at these weapons. So those are some great, like, very early options. Otherwise, you can get like Guardian Rathalos. This is pretty decent because it's got critical element on there and Master's Touch, so you can keep that sharpness a little bit better. And it's a pretty decent attack and fire damage on there. So that's a really good, not super early, but still a low rank option for your elements. If you want Dragon, you can do the Guardian Ebony Odogaron tree. That's a very decent option. Otherwise, you can start looking at some like Arkveld stuff, but this is minus affinity. So I would just kind of stick to the Guardian Ebony in my opinion. And then later on in a high rank, there's a couple options that you can eventually go into. That'd be the Guardian Fulgur Anjanath if you want some thunder. It has 3 critical elements on there. Unfortunately, it does not get like to the white sharpness, but it'll serve you fine for the end of high rank. Not going to be too bad. The Rathlos tree is very good as well. You get crit boost 3 on these, which is pretty insane. And then eventually on the final one, you can get white sharpness. And then for the Gore Magala is definitely another decent dragon option. This has critical element 3 on there, with white sharpness down here on not even the rank 8. So definitely another really good option. I did quickly want to go over Kinsects on their own, just because it's something that you can, you know, just keep working towards as you're starting in low rank all the way into endgame. So the one that I would recommend progressing towards would be the Carnage Beetle. So you can actually get this if you go to buying Kinsects. You start with the Maul Drone here, and then once you get the Maul Drone, you're going to go into raising Kinsects, and then when you click it, you're going to be going towards the Foe Beetle. And then once you have the Foe Beetle, you can then upgrade the Foe Beetle into the Carnage Beetle. Now, the Kinsect stuff, I've been kind of looking around to see what people who are way better Insect Glaive than I am are doing, and I've seen a lot of them gravitate towards Carnage Beetle as well. So I would recommend going towards this one, but feel free to play around with different options. I've heard people are gravitating towards the Monarch one, things like that. Just play around with anything like that. But the Carnage Beetle is going to be currently the one that I'm using for all of our endgame setups. Moving on over to our armor sets progression here. Our first upgrade that we can do is going to be grabbing the Balahara set. This is going to allow us to get Evade Extender 3, which is going to be a nice little quality of life for those who want it. You don't need to do this upgrade. It's just an option there. That's super early on. It's going to give you Evade Extender 3 and then a little bit of Quick Sheath and Flinch Free. If you grab the Balahara Mail, Van Braces, Coil, and Greaves, and also fit in the Chemitress helmet. Once again, not necessary, but if you do want a little bit of quality of life early on, this is a decent option. But this will transition us into our first real upgrade with our second upgrade of our playthrough, and that is going to be grabbing the Guardian Ebony set. This is going to grab us level 3 burst, which is really nice, and not to mention we're going to get burst boost 2 from the Ebony Odogaron's power set bonus with 4 pieces there. So if we grab the helmet, mail, braces, and coil, we can get that set bonus and 3 bursts, and then we can fit in the Guardian Rathalos Greaves for a little bit of weakness exploit, which is going to be pretty nice to have. You can change this out if you want more quality of life options instead, but this is going to be our damage setup. It's going to work pretty well, and I think this is a really good second upgrade once you get a little bit further into low rank. But that will transition you right into high rank. Now, a few fights into high rank, you can fight Kangala, and that's going to be able to get us our next little upgrade here, and that is the Kanga Mail A. This is going to give us another burst on there, and then what we can do is put on the Guardian Ebony Greaves from low rank, and this is still going to give us the burst boost 2 on our set bonus while also fitting in some more bursts, so we can actually get to burst 5 here, which is really nice. And then once you fight Nursilla, you should be able to craft the Chain Charm 1, which is the final point of burst that will get us to level 5 with this setup, which is going to be really nice, and it's going to really help out your damage, especially if you're running elemental stuff. And then our last major upgrade of going through high rank is going to be after we fight the high rank Guardian Ebony Odogaron, and then a little bit before that was the Blongaga. With these, you're able to get Agitator 5 and Burst 5 with all of the right gear. So if you get to the Guardian Ebony Helmet Beta, the Blongo Mail Beta, Guardian Ebony Braces Alpha, the Blongo Coil Beta, and the Blongo Greaves Beta, you can get a ton there, and then fit in that Chain Charm 1 that you had from earlier. You can get Agitator 5 and Burst 5. This is going to be overall a ton of extra damage, and we can also keep the Burst Boost 2 for a little bit of extra attack, and the Warcry 1 from the Blongaga Spirit. Now I have 2 endgame sets for you guys, and that is going to be an Elemental and Blast variant. So these are going to be using Artian weapons. So if we take a look at our Artian weapon, basically what I built it with was all affinity, and then I got 1 sharpness boost, and that 1 sharpness boost has actually been perfectly fine. If you just never ever want to worry about sharpness, get a second, but from there you can do element boost and affinity boost. You can fill it out kind of however you want. I will say, if you get up to 40% affinity, you will have 100% affinity without weak points with this setup, which is pretty nice. But I ended up rolling with 35%. You can do whatever combination you want if you want more just like attack. But I did kind of want to try a little bit closer to 100% affinity. So this is currently what I'm running. It's been working pretty well for me. But on this, what we can actually end up fitting is a flight jewel. This is going to give us the airborne attack, which is going to help out our main damage source, which is that rising spiral. This is going to help us out a ton with extra damage there at 10%, which is really cool. And then we can fit in our element. So for me, that is stream, because it just happens to be a water insect glaive, and then critical elements. And then on all 3 of these gems, I was able to fit handicraft as its like secondary thing for a little bit of extra sharpness. I have not needed to sharpen in the middle of a fight ever yet with this, which is really nice. I will sharpen like if the monster moves, anything like that, just to keep it topped off and never have to worry about it. But so far, this has been working very well in keeping my white sharpness. But from there, what we can end up doing is fitting in 2 pieces of the Guardian Ebony set with the helmet beta and the coil beta. And then we can do an Arc Vulcan male beta, Guardian Arcveld Vambraces beta, and then the Udra Greaves beta, and then an Exploiter Charm 2 with the Corrupted Mantle. If we take a look at everything from there with these skills, we can end up with Handicraft 3, Water Attack 3, Critical Element 3, Airborne, Max Weakness Exploit, Max Burst, Max Maximum Might, and then I fit on Flinch Free and a little bit of Constitution and Evade Extender. Overall, this feels very, very good for an Elemental Insect Glaive build. The final endgame set that I have for you is going to be a Blast focused kind of raw damage setup. This way, for like Arcveld, things like that, you can use it there and not have to worry about like his chains not taking element damage, things like that. So if you want to be using the Blast setup, with this setup, you can get Crit Boost 5, Weakness Exploit 5, Agitator 5, Maximum Might 3, and then I just throw on like Flinch Free and a little bit of Constitution, not to mention our Airborne for boosting that Rising Spiral. And overall, this ends up doing a ton of damage. Now, we achieve this by, on our armor, we're going to be using the Fulgur Anjanath Helmet Beta with the Arc Vulcan Male Beta, Guardian Arcveld Vambraces Beta, Blongo Coil Beta, and Blongo Greaves Beta with an Exploiter Charm 2. And then for our decorations is where we can fit in our Mighty Gems for maximum might. And I just threw on some Evade Extenders in there for quality of life. You can kind of change these around if you'd like. Same thing with the Brace and Physique Gems for our Constitution and Flinch Freeze. My Artian weapon for this Blast setup, I just rolled it with pure attack as its production. And then the reinforcements got 2 sharpness, which is not too bad. Once again, you could probably get away with 1, maybe a little less so with this specific setup, just because the crit gems, you can't get like the secondary option. So I do not mind the double sharpness, but I did get all element boost, which kind of stunk. I would like to change these to attack or affinity. Anything like that will be perfectly fine for the setup. So if you guys are making your own, I would look for those. I did want to show how much damage you could get off with this setup with like all of your buffs and things like that active, Corrupted Mantle on. So if we start doing some Rising Slash combos here, and then at the end we do our Descending Slash into the spiral. Right there, it was close to 3,000 damage, and that took almost no time at all. So that's quite a bit. And once again, we're not like dependent on anything with this setup. There's no like conditional skills. I'm on the crit one right now. There's nothing that I can even activate here in my training settings. It's purely just burst and our crits doing the work here with all of our buffs. And yeah, that's a lot of damage for very little work. And then you can just get right back into it, getting your buffs and doing it over and over again. But yeah, overall, the Insect Glaive has been a ton of fun for me to play. This is a fairly new weapon for me over like the past week or two, but it has been a blast nonetheless. And I am absolutely garbage compared to a lot of the other Insect Glaive players out there. who have been maining this thing for years. They do some pretty insane things. So if you guys want to be striving for that, you have a lot to work towards, and it's going to be a lot of fun along the way. So hopefully these sets and progression help you out and help you get there. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a thumbs up on it to let me know. Also consider subscribing for more Monster Hunter Wilds content. We're going to have more builds and progression here very shortly with all of our different weapons. But thank you all for watching this far in the video. I really do appreciate it. I hope you all have a fantastic day. See ya.